Guys, please confirm all of you that your voice is clear. So that we know. Nine calling. Nine calling. Guys, please confirm all of you that your voice is clear. So that we know. Guys, please confirm all of you that your voice is clear. So that we know. Guys, everybody please confirm all of you that your voice is clear. So that we know. Audible. Guys, please confirm all of you that your voice is clear. Am I audible, guys? Please confirm to me. Please, everybody respond to me. All of you get my voice on screen. Those who are attending in online. Guys, please respond to me. All of you get my voice on screen. Those who are attending in online. Am I audible? Yeah, everybody. Right. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Right. Good evening, guys. All right, sir. And any of you are new members today? Please raise your hands. New members today. Okay, fine. Good, nice. And try to take this image. Take this image in your mobile phones or maybe, especially it's mandatory. This is mandatory. Right. Take this at least through your mobile phone or maybe you can write it in your notes. No issues. Okay. All right, sir. Then what is the need of it? Everyday classroom notes I am providing through this link only, so that you can utilize this. Fine. Shall we start now? Right, sir. Then don't worry regarding this a bit delay. So then a few days of time like this, 1 hour, 15 minutes I'm taking. After that, you have to start our classes right from 4 o'clock. I'll give that schedule to you, but in the future, I'm telling you, not immediately. Right from 4 o'clock, I'm going to start our classes, but few classes I'm going to take in this way. The point is what? In the future at 4 o'clock, I will start object orientation. Oops, that is the actual starting point for core Java, right? That we require. In the future, I will start right from 4 o'clock. There we are able to get nearly 1.5 hour. That means 2.5 hour class we are going to have there. Again, for new members, I will give schedule. What exactly the plan, how we are going to conduct the classes. Again, I'm able to talk with you in the future. Okay, right. Now move on to the content here. First, right, sir. Then for new members, I'm telling there hardly technical concepts only. Two concepts we understood, only two. That means Java history, background story of Java, differences between Java and others. Hardly two classes we can understand. Before that, overview or normal class I have taken there. We are able to get that video support also. No need to worry for it. So now try to check for it. Now the topic is like what there differences between Java and others in introduction part. Introduction of the core Java history, just background story I've given. It's not much important. This is actual important topic, differences between Java and others. In the differences between Java and others, what was the first difference here I completed there? The very first difference is what there? C and C++ are static programming languages, but Java is what there? A dynamic programming language. If any programming language follows static memory allocation, that is the memory allocation at compilation time, then that programming language is called a static programming language. Examples are what there? C and C++. Next one is what? After this, in C and C++ applications, memory will be allocated for the data at the time of compilation only. not at the time of execution, not at the time of runtime. So that's what C and C++ are what their static programming languages. Next, immediately, what about this dynamic programming language? If any programming language follows dynamic memory allocation, that is the memory allocation at a runtime, not at compilation time, then that programming language is called as dynamic programming language. What are the various examples for this dynamic programming language? Actually, Java, Python, .NET, and so on. All these are what their dynamic programming languages. That's okay, fine. In Java applications, memory will be allocated for the data at runtime only. In Java applications, memory will be allocated for the data at runtime only. That's why the dynamic program, that Java is what there, a dynamic programming language. Right, sir, leave this one. So some type of diagrammatic representation I've given there. Compilation and execution. At compilation time, if memory is allocated, static memory allocation, static programming language. At runtime, if memory is allocated, dynamic memory allocation, dynamic programming language. All right, the second point here, what we provided here, preprocessor is required in C and C++, but a preprocessor is not required in Java. Right, sir? Preprocessor is a tool that existed in the compilation as the first phase. As the first phase in entire compilation process, the very first phase is what their preprocessor. Let's see this diagram here. No, already given this part here, diagrammatic part. Now understand this clearly. C program compilation, .exe file execution and output. Compilation is having four phases internally. One is what their preprocessor. Next one is what? Compiler, assembler, loader, link editor. Preprocessor phase is the first phase or not? Then after that, inside the compiler, 6 pages are available. What are the 6 pages here? No, lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, intermediate code generation, code optimization, and code generation. These are overall phases that we are getting clearly. Fine, leave this part here. After this, after completion of this, then what next one here we are doing there? Pre-processor phase here we understood. It's okay, fine. After that, now the next point is what there? What is the role of the preprocessor? To understand the role of the preprocessor, I given some points. In C and C++, the complete predefined library exists in the form of header files. The complete predefined library exists in the form of what there? Header files. stdio.h, conio.h, math.h, and so on. In C and C++ applications, if we want to use the predefined library, then we have to include header files to the C and C++ programs. To include header files in C and C++ applications, then we have to use hash include statements. What are these hash include statements here we are having there? Hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h, hash include math.h, hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h, hash include math.h. If we compile C and C++ applications, then the preprocessor will be activated and the preprocessor will perform the following actions. What actions that preprocessor is able to perform? That means when we compile this code, especially this hash include statements, what preprocessor will perform the activities. Now I'm going to list out all the activities of this preprocessor. Observe carefully. First one is what there, preprocessor will recognize all the hash include statements. Preprocessor will recognize what there, all the hash include statements. Preprocessor will take all the provided header files names and the preprocessor will check whether these header files exist or not in the C and C++ softwares. What I'm telling to you, first preprocessor will recognize all the hash include statements. Preprocessor will take these header files names. What are these header files names? No, stdio.h, conio.h, math.h, and all these header files names you have taken. After taking these header files names, no, preprocessor will check whether these header files are available or not in the C software or C++ software. Understand it clearly. For example, if these header files are not available in C and C++ softwares, there we are able to get compilation error. If these header files are available in C and C++ softwares, their compiler will not raise any error. Sorry, not compiler, preprocessor. Preprocessor will not raise any error. At the same time, what preprocessor will do now? Preprocessor will load these header files content to the memory. Whatever the code is available inside these header files, that code will be loaded to the memory. Understand this point clearly? So that's the same thing here I provided. Preprocessor will recognize all the hash include statements. Preprocessor will take all the provided header files names, and the preprocessor will check whether these header files exist or not exist in the C and C++ softwares. If the provided header files do not exist in the C and C++ softwares, then the preprocessor will raise an error. If the provided header files exist in the C and C++ softwares, then the preprocessor will load all the header files content to the memory. Okay, fine. Note I'm giving there. What is that note here? Loading the predefined library at the time of compilation is called static loading. Loading the predefined library at the time of compilation is called as what there? Static loading. Leave this one. In C and C++, preprocessor is required to recognize all the hash include statements and to load all the header files content. This is the final conclusion here I'm giving there. What is the need of the preprocessor in C and C++? Finally, the point is what there? Preprocessor is required to recognize all the hash include statements and to load all the header files to the memory. This one, the diagram here I've given there. Up to preprocessor and its requirement in C and C++, we understood. Guys, I'm asking this conclusion directly. What is the purpose of the preprocessor in a C and C++? Now tell me. What is the purpose of preprocessor in C and C++? The main intention of the preprocessor in C and C++ is what there? To recognize the hash include statements, to load the header files content to the memory. Loading predefined library at the time of compilation is what? Static loading. Loading predefined library at the time of compilation is what there? Static loading. Clear? All of you are getting clarity now? But actually our title is what, sir? Now tell me. What is the title now? Preprocessor is required in C and C++. What is the requirement of preprocessor in C and C++? No, to recognize hash include statements, to load header files content to the memory. Memory in the sense main memory only, execution area. That is the purpose of like what there preprocessor. What is that next point here? Now tell me. Preprocessor is not required in Java. Why preprocessor is not required in Java? That is my question. Why preprocessor is not required in Java? Right, sir. Now, I want to right, sir. It's okay, fine. It's okay, no problem. Now, observe carefully the same diagram I want to provide with respect to the Java. Already shown the diagram here that I want to provide with respect to what there Java. Try to understand this one. Okay, I think it's not coming there directly. Don't worry for it. Yeah, I'll prepare 2 minutes of time. I'll prepare the total diagram. Try to understand it clearly. All right, sir. First of all, what I have to take there. Now, this time I'm going to use what there Java diagram, right? Not a C and C++. Please recognize this. This is Java. If it is Java, directly that extension should be like what there dot Java. Am I right or not? That file extension should be what there dot Java. That's okay, fine. After completion of this, here we need to go for like what there compilation. Here we need to perform like what there compilation. After compilation of this one, here we are able to get one type of file. What type of file here we are able to get there? I will give that information to you. Don't worry for it. Right, sir. It is not like .exe. Understand it now. After completion of this, here we have to go with what their execution process. After executing this program, there we are able to get what their some outputs. Now here we are able to provide what their outputs. Understand this. So first of all here, what I am telling to you. Right. Now I want to provide like what then? Let me provide some arrows here. Now this is one thing. First here we have to compile. Then after that here we are able to get one type of file. What type of file here I will give clarity. Now here we need to go for execution process. After that here we have to get outputs. Right, it's okay. First of all, let me go for what their compilation process. Right. Now here we have to provide this compilation. Next one is after completion of this compilation process here. Right. After this compilation, next one is what there. In the case of C and C++, after compilation, we are able to get .exe files. But in the case of Java, after compilation of our Java file, there we are able to get .class file. Guys, remember this what files here we are able to get no .class files. In C and C++, it is a confusion. After compilation of the files, we are able to get .obj, .ai, .exe, like a bit confusion. So many files here we are getting now. But in the case of Java, it's very clear, straightforward. What is that straightforward in the case of Java? No, before compilation .java, after compilation .class. That's it. No other files are generated. Only .class file. Here we are getting. What is there inside the .class file? That we will discuss today. No need to worry for it. All right. So then after this, now this is like what I am telling to you. Execution. This is like what their execution process. After this execution there we are able to get what their outputs here we are able to get. Now this is like what I am telling to you, output here we are getting. Okay, fine. Compilation. Now you only tell me guys, all of you now tell me, in the compilation how many phases are available there? As you have seen already, in the compilation nearly 4 phases are available. What are the 4 phases in the compilation here? Now tell me. The first one is what there? Preprocessor. Next one is what there? Compiler. Next one is what there? Assembler. Next one is what there? Loader, link editor. First of all, let me provide, this is like what there? Preprocessor. Okay, fine. Let me write it everything here. Next one is what there? After that, compiler. You can understand it. Compiler. All right, sir. Then after this compiler, next one is what there? Assembler. After this assembler, then we are able to have what there? Loader, link editor. Loader, link editor. All right. Now here we are getting what there? Loader, link editor. All right. You know already one point here. In Java, what is not available actually, preprocessor is not existed. So don't expect that preprocessor phase. As a first phase, which one is available here? No, compiler phase is available. That everything, whatever the work that preprocessor is doing in general, that could be done by compiler. Right, that's nice. Then after this, now coming to this point here, compiler, I want to elaborate. Again, if we take this compiler now, how many phases are existed? If we think about it, almost all 6 phases are available inside the compiler. What are the 6 phases? Now, first one is lexical analysis. Next one is a syntax analysis, semantic analysis, intermediate code generation, then code optimization, then lastly code generation. These many phases here we are getting. Okay, now observe clearly. All right, sir. One after another, each and every phase is going to be evaluated. Of course, immediately in this particular context, I don't require this one immediately, but as I'm discussing about this total architecture, that's why I'm discussing the compiler internal architecture directly. In the future, I may use this. In the future, I may use this content clear. Now let me write these phases now. What is that first phase here? We are going to understand it now. Lexical analysis. This is the first phase here. We can identify this clearly. What is the second one here? No, syntax analysis. Syntax analysis phase is required. It's okay, fine. Or the next one here, no, semantic analysis. Semantic analysis. That phase here we are going to use semantic analysis. Next one is what there? Intermediate code generation. Intermediate code generation. Right, sir. Now, intermediate code generation, that phase here we are providing. Next one is what there? Code optimization. Code optimization that we are getting. Lastly, code generation. These many phases are available that we have to understand clearly. Right, sir. Now, this entirely what there? Compiler internal structure. Maybe awareness is important at present here, but not required to understand each and every part of these phases immediately. In the future, we are going to understand each and every one, especially lexical analysis I required minimum in the future, but not required immediately. But time being here, I'm giving information to you. You have to understand the content here now. It's okay, fine. This is exactly the content here what we provided with respect to like what there Java. This is with respect to what there Java related diagram here we provided. Okay. Right, sir. Yeah. So this is a diagram here we provided. But before that, now understand it. Why this preprocessor is not required in the case of Java? As per the diagram, preprocessor is not required. But why it is not required inside the Java? That we are going to understand. Now let me give the points here. Observe carefully. Listen, all of you know. In C and C++, the complete predefined library is provided in the form of header files. Am I right or not? In C and C++, the complete predefined libraries existed in the form of what their header files. Similarly, in the case of Java, in Java, the complete predefined library was provided in the form of classes and interfaces in the packages. The complete predefined library was provided in the form of classes and interfaces in the packages, mainly packages. Packages contains classes and interfaces. Everybody understand it now? All right. What are the various examples for it now? If you observe these examples here, java.io package, java.util package. Then what next one here? Java dot, like say for example, SQL package. All these are like what I'm telling to you, packages that we can identify clearly. In Java, the complete predefined library was provided in the form of class and interfaces in the packages. Examples for the packages here are given: java.io, java.util, java.sql, and so on. Not only these packages here, so many packages are available in Java. Nice. Up to that, it's okay, fine. All right, sir. Now, observe carefully after this. In C and C++, to use predefined library, we have to include header files. To include these header files, there we have to use what statements there? Hash include statements there we have to use. Am I right or not? In C and C++, to include header files, we have to use hash include statements. Similarly, in Java applications, if we want to use predefined library, then we have to include packages in the Java files. Here to include packages in the Java files, we have to use, observe carefully, import statements. Guys, now tell me, in the case of Java, to include predefined library, what statements here we are going to use there? Import statements here we have to use. In Java applications, if we want to use a predefined library, then we have to include packages in the Java files. Here to include packages in the Java files, we have to use import statements. Has I got my point or not? Okay, fine. How we are going to use that import statements now? Examples here I'm telling to you. Import java.io.star. What's the meaning of the star actually? Package is the collection of classes and interfaces. Means that a single package can have more than one class and more than one interface. To get all classes and all interfaces from the packages, to get all from the package, we are using what their star notation. Remember this, they are the basics what I am covering now. Star is representing what there, all from the specified package. Star is representing what there, all from the specified package. All right, sir. Now this is one thing. Next one is what there after this, import java.util.star. Again the same meaning. Next one is what there, import java dot, like what next one here, sql dot star. Like this here we provided now. That means by using these import statements, we are able to get all classes and interfaces from the specified package. Yes, sir. All of you are getting it or not? Okay, fine. Leave this punch. After this, after completion of this particular content here, the next point is like what I'm telling to you. Observe carefully. If we compile a Java file, that has the above import statements, then the compiler will perform the following actions. All of you listen carefully. I prepared a Java program. In the Java program, I have written these import statements. And if I compile this Java program, what compiler will do? Anyway, preprocessor is not available. Why it is not available? We are understanding that. Okay, in the absence of this preprocessor, what compiler will do? What exactly the job of the compiler? About these import statements. Right, observe carefully. Very first point. What compiler will do here? Compiler will recognize all the import statements. Compiler will recognize all the import statements. Am I right or not? After that, compiler will take all the packages names which we specified along with import statements, and the compiler will check whether these packages exist or not in the Java software. Compiler will check whether these packages are existed or not in the Java software. Understand it clearly. Next point. If the provided packages do not exist in the Java software, then the compiler will raise an error. What error here we are able to raise now? I can give that error message also. That error should be like what there, package xxx does not exist. Like this we are able to get an error message. First of all, compiler will recognize import statements. Compiler will take package names like java.io, java.util, java.sql. Compiler will take that package names. Compiler will check whether these packages are available or not in the Java software. If these packages do not exist, immediately compiler will raise an error. What is the error here we are able to get now? Package xxx does not exist. Got it or not? For example, if the provided packages are existed in the Java software, then the compiler will not raise any error. If the packages are available in Java software, any chance for compiler to raise an error? Not required. Why? Because packages are already existed. So if the packages are existed in the Java software, then the compiler will not raise any error. But remember, at the same time, the compiler will not load any predefined, any package content to the memory. But in the case of C and C++, preprocessor, when it identifies header files, preprocessor will load header files content to the memory. That is called a static memory. like static loading. But in the case of Java, what is going on there? Even though packages are available in Java software, compiler will not take any responsibility to load that package content to the memory. In Java, compiler is not responsible for loading predefined library to the memory. Right. All of you are following the points here, what I am telling to you. Right. In the case of C and C++, who will load predefined library to the memory? Preprocessor. Preprocessor will load predefined library to the memory. In the case of Java, who is loading that predefined library to the memory? It's very clear that, but not compiler. Compiler will not take any responsibility of loading library to the memory. Compiler is responsible for checking whether packages are existed or not existed in the Java software. Compiler is not responsible for loading predefined library to the memory. Nice. After that, it's okay. But who is responsible to load packages to the memory? Who is taking the responsibility to load packages to the memory in the case of Java? Now I'm giving information, observe carefully. In Java, JVM will load the required classes and interfaces from the packages at runtime as per the requirement. Tell me, sir, all of you now understand it clearly. In the case of Java, who is responsible to load predefined library to the memory? JVM is responsible for loading predefined library to the memory, but not compiler. But not compiler. Compiler is not at all responsible to load library to the memory in the case of C and in the case of Java. In the case of Java, only JVM is responsible for loading predefined library to the memory. Can you tell me what is JVM? Java Virtual Machine. That JVM is responsible for loading predefined library to the memory. Understand it clearly. In this case, loading predefined library at runtime. Loading predefined library at runtime is called dynamic loading. Is called as what there? Dynamic loading. All of you understand it clearly. So loading predefined library at compilation time is called as what there? Static loading. But loading predefined library at runtime is called as what there? Dynamic loading. Right, sir. Now observe carefully. What is the meaning of static loading and what is the meaning of dynamic loading that we understood clearly. Loading the predefined library at runtime is called as what there? Dynamic loading. Now coming to the conclusion, no? In this entire process, is there any requirement of the preprocessor in Java? What preprocessor has done previously, that work might be done by this compilant JVM or not. So there is no scope for preprocessor in the case of Java. Now I'm giving conclusion. Up to this conclusion clearly. In Java, preprocessor is not required. Preprocessor is not required. Why? Because in Java, hash include statements and header files are not existed. Answer my point here. In Java, preprocessor is not required. Why? Because in Java, hash include statements and header files do not exist. They are not existed inside the Java software. Okay, fine. Now tell me, alternatively, Java has what files are available here? No, packages and what next one here? No, import statements. Alternatively, Java has packages and import statements. Okay, fine. Now this is exactly the concept we can understand now why preprocessor is not required in the case of Java programming language. Come again, just 1 minute of time. I want to rewind this total content here. Observe carefully. Right. Our point is like what there? In Java, preprocessor is not required. Why preprocessor is not required in the case of Java? I have started this content right from somewhat depth. Now understand it now. In Java, the complete predefined library was provided in the form of classes and interfaces in the packages. Immediately I given examples for packages. What are the examples for packages? Now tell me. Java.io, Java.util, and what next one here? java.sql. In Java applications, if you want to use the predefined library, then we have to include packages in the Java files. Here to include packages in the Java files, we have to use import statements. What are the various import statements here we are getting there? Import java.io.star, import java.util.star, import java.sql.star. If we compile a Java file that has the above import statements, then the compiler will perform some actions. What actions the compiler will perform? The first, compiler will recognize all these import statements. Compiler will take these package names. Compiler will check whether these packages are available or not available in Java software. If these are not available, compiler will raise an error. If these are available, compiler will not raise any error. At the same time, compiler is not responsible to load any package content to the memory. Why? Because compiler is not responsible for it. Okay, if compiler is not responsible for loading packages to the memory, who is responsible for loading predefined library? JVM is responsible to load that predefined library to the memory in the case of Java at runtime as per the requirement. So loading predefined library at runtime is called as what there? Dynamic loading. In C and C++, what loading is going on? Static loading is going on. But in the case of Java, what loading is going on there? Dynamic loading is going on. In Java, conclusion I'm telling there, in Java, preprocessor is not required. Why? Because in Java, hash include statements and header files do not exist. Alternatively, Java has packages and import statements. Got it or not? Right, so the related diagram also can be provided clearly. Guys, now after understanding all these many points now, I have one important interview question. At a fresher level, the interviewer may ask this question with you. Now the question is what are the differences between hash include statement and import statement? What are the differences between hash include statement and import statement? Right, so this is my question here. We have to give answers for it as we understood clearly how hash include statement is available and how import statements are available in Java. As we understood that clearly, we need to answer for this question now. Right, first of all, we need to go for the first answer here. First of all, where these two statements are existed, that I want to know. Where these two statements are available here, observe carefully. Hash include statements exist in C and C++. Similarly, now tell me, import statements exist in Java. Import statements exist in what there? Java. C and C++ statements exist in what there? Hash include statements exist in what there? C and C++. Import statements exist in what there? Java. Leave it. Next one is what hash include statements will do. Hash include statements are able to include the predefined library. Hash include statements are able to include the predefined library existed in the form of header files. Am I right or not? Hash include statements are able to include the predefined library existed in the form of what there? In the form of header files. Whereas import statements are able to include the predefined library existed in the form of packages, in the form of like what their classes and interfaces, in the form of packages. That's it. This is like what I'm telling to you. All right, this is exactly all right. The purpose of hash include statement and import statement that we can understand. Number 3, which type of loading is going on in between both? What type of loading is going on here? Hash include is supporting static loading. Am I right or not? Hash include is supporting what type of loading here? No, static loading that we can identify clearly. All right, it's okay, fine. Hash include is supporting static loading. Next one is after that import statement. Import statements are supporting what type of loading there? dynamic loading. All right, sir. Dynamic loading. Import statements are supporting what there? Dynamic loading. All right, it's okay. Static loading. Then what next one here? No, dynamic loading. That's okay, fine. Next one is after that. Point number 4. Who are recognized? Who are evaluating hash include statements and who are evaluating import statements actually? Hash include statements are evaluated by the preprocessor. Am I right or not? In the case of C and C++, who is recognizing, who is evaluating hash include statements? No, only preprocessor. Good. Now, import statements are evaluated by the compiler and JVM. Yes, at the time of compilation, to check packages are available or not, compiler must recognize import statements. At runtime, to load predefined library to the memory, JVM must recognize what their import statements. So import statements are evaluated by the compiler and JVM. Right, sir. The last point, understand it clearly. I'm asking one question to you, now try to understand it. I think you have some knowledge on C and C++. That's why here I'm giving this type of question to you, now understand it clearly. Now tell me, hash include yesterday what.h, comma, conio.h, comma, math.h, math.h. Is the syntax is possible in C? Is it possible in C? That means what I am asking to you, is it possible to load more than one header file by using single hash include statement in C and C++? No, not at all possible. But what is possible here? If we want to include more than one header file, there we have to use like what there? We need to use multiple hash include statements. Now here we have to provide like what there? Hash include conio.h. Again here what we have to provide there separately? Hash include math.h. Now tell me, all of you now tell me, if you want to include more than one header file in C and C++ programs, we have to write more than one hash include statements. By using single hash include statement, we are unable to include more than one header file. Observe carefully. In C and C++ applications, to include more than one header file, we have to use more than one hash include statement. We have to use what there more than one hash include statement. This is an example here we have to understand. All right, sir, that's okay, fine. But my point, in the case of Java, what is going to be happen in Java applications? In Java applications, it is possible to include more than one class or interface of the same package, more than one class or interface from the same package by using single import statement. Understand my point here? It is possible to include more than one class or interface of the same package by using a single import statement. All right, sir. Now observe carefully. Example here I'm telling you. Inside this, what I am telling to you, import java.io.star. Here, what is the meaning of star? Now tell me. All from the package we are able to get. That's sufficient. More than one class or more than one interface here, we are able to get from what there? A single java.io package by using single import statement. But if it is a case in the case of C and C++, how many hash include statements here we have to write? No, more than one hash include statement here we have to write. But in the case of Java, how many import statements here we are able to write? No, single import statement here we are able to write. That's it. Now these are the various differences between hash include statements and import statements. All of you now tell me, sir, what are the differences between hash include statement and import statement? What is the first one here? No, hash include statements exist in C and C++, but import statements exist in what there? Java. Hash include statements are able to include the predefined library exists in the form of header files. Import statements are able to include the predefined library existing in the form of classes and interfaces in the form of packages. All right. Hash include statement is a supporting static loading. Import statements are supporting dynamic loading. All right, sir. Next one is what? 1 minute. Hash include statements. Hash include statements are supporting static loading. Import statements are supporting dynamic loading. Hash include statements are evaluated by the preprocessor, whereas import statements are evaluated by the compiler and JVM. In C and C++ applications, to include more than one header file, we have to use more than one hash include statement. Hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h, hash include math.h. Similarly, in Java applications, it is possible to include more than one class or interface of the same package by using a single import statement. Import java.ivo.star. Right, sir. Now, these are the various points here we understood clearly. And related, this diagram also here we provided. This is like what I'm telling to you about this Java, how preprocessor is not existed, not required in the case of Java. That all the points here we understood clearly. Totally, second title, second point, second difference between Java and others here we completed. What is that second difference? Can you tell me? Preprocessor is required in C and C++, but the preprocessor is not required in Java. Leave this part here. Just one time, just read the total content here so that you are able to get much clarity about this. Leave this point here. The next one is the third difference between C and C++. The third difference here, what you are understanding there. 1 minute. So just give a minute of time. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay, fine. Now coming to the third difference. What is the third difference, Ken? Third difference is very, very important. Knowledge point of view, it's very, very important. Everybody has to put more concentration. What is the third difference, Ken? C and C++ are platform dependent programming languages. C and C++ are platform dependent programming languages. But Java is a platform independent programming language. But Java is a platform independent programming language. So here we have to understand this entire difference. C and C++ are platform dependent programming languages, but Java is what their platform independent programming language. Observe carefully. Before understanding C, C++ are platform dependent, Java is a platform independent. Before understanding all this, first we have to understand what is platform dependent programming language. What is platform independent programming language? First of all, we need to have clarity on it. After that, we will talk about it. C, C++ are platform dependent or platform independent. Later on, we will understand. First of all, what is a platform dependent programming language? What exactly the meaning of platform dependent programming language? That we have to understand. Listen, all of you listen carefully. Observe carefully. If any programming language, observe carefully, understand the definition of. If any programming language allows its applications to perform the compilation and execution, to perform the compilation and execution on the same operating system, comma, not on the different operating systems, then that programming language is called platform dependent programming language. Tell me, sir, please try to understand the definition. No? First of all, tell me, when I write a program, first we have to perform compilation or not? After that, we have to perform execution or not? If compilation and execution must be performed in the same operating system, not possible to perform in two different operating systems. It must be on same operating system. Then the respective programming language is a platform dependent programming language. Definition are given clearly. If any programming language allows its applications to perform the compilation and the execution on the same operating system, not on two different operating systems, then the programming language is called a platform dependent programming language. Example for platform dependent programming languages are C, C++. As of now, they are the two examples here we have to understand. But I have a question now clearly. Why, sir? Why C and C++ are platform dependent programming languages? Definition is okay, understood that. Compilation and execution must be on the same operating system. Okay, but how? How can we justify that C and C++ are platform dependent programming languages? What is that internal reason for it? Why it is mandatory to compile and execute C programs on the same operating system? Why not on different operating systems? There we have to understand some content. Put more concentration, all of you know. Observe carefully. I want to give some diagrammatic representation. Observe carefully. Right, sir. Already we have taken this diagram here. No need to worry for it. Now just I want to remove this diagram here. All of you observe carefully. Now, first of all, as per the definition, I want to prepare this diagram. Understand it now. So this is my C program. Directly, I prepared one. This is like what their C program. If it is C program, dot C is an extension. Okay, there we are able to provide what there a set of instructions. Developer understandable code, high level representation. Understand it. Now I want to perform compilation. So I need to go for what their compilation process. This is compilation process here we are going to take. Compilation. We know already the point in C and C++, when we perform compilation, automatically here we are able to get .exe file. Am I right? Here we are able to get like what there .exe file. All right. Inside this .exe file, what content here we are able to get? No. There we are able to get zeros and ones only. There we are able to get what there zeros and ones only. .exe file content here we are getting. After completion of this, we need to go for like what there execution. Now here we have to take what there execution process. Execution. If we come for this execution process here, when we execute the program, there we are able to get what their output. There we are able to get what their output. Here we are getting output. Right, this is as per the content. First of all, that's it. It's okay, not mandatory. As per the definition, for compilation and execution, we need to use some operating systems. For compilation and execution here, we are having some operating systems. Understand it? For the sake of the discussion, first of all, for compilation, I want to use Windows operating system. For execution, I need to use Windows operating system actually, but for the sake of the discussion, I want to use Linux operating system. 2 minutes of time, I want to use what there? Linux operating system. What is going to be happen? Put more concentration, all of you know. When we perform compilation on Windows operating system, automatically here we are getting .exe file. What is this .exe file actually? What exactly the meaning of this .exe file? What is available inside this .exe file? I want to know something about .exe file. .exe file contains directly executable code. .exe file contains the directly executable code. Okay, and it is following and it is having the local operating system representations like Windows operating system representations. That's it. There is a point here we can understand. What is, sir? What is this actually .exe file? Now tell me. .exe file contains the directly executable code. .exe file contains what there? Directly executable code. And it is having the local operating system representations like Windows operating system representations. Okay. Observe carefully. This is exactly the meaning of like what there .exe file. Come again. What is this .exe file? .exe file contains the directly executable code that is in the form of zeros and ones only, and it is having the local operating system representation. This is what their Windows operating system representations. Windows operating system represented .exe file like Windows operating system representations. Okay, fine. Now tell me execution. Who will perform this execution, sir? Now tell me. This is execution actually, but in general, who is performing execution actually? C engine is performing execution or not? C engine is performing execution. When C engine is performing execution, the C engine is available on what operating system? Now tell me. Come on, C engine is available on what operating system? Linux. So this C engine is able to understand only Linux representations. It is able to execute only Linux operating system representations. It is able to execute only Linux representations. Why? Because it was installed on the top of what their Linux operating system here. That's why it is able to execute only Linux representative. Please remember one point. From one operating system to another operating system, internal representations are different. Don't expect the same representations in all the operating systems. If same representations are available in all the operating systems, what is the need of these many operating systems? No. So definitely one operating system to another operating system, internal data representations are different. Now understand this situation. We compiled C program on Windows operating system or not? There we are getting .exe file or not? This .exe file is representing what there is having local operating system representations or not? Means that it has Windows operating system representations or not? But here C engine is required what operating system representations? No. Come on, C engine required what representations? No, Linux. But we are providing what representations? No, Windows. Is it possible to run Windows representations under Linux operating system? Is it possible to run Windows representations on Linux operating system? Not possible. There our program will not be executed. But if you want to execute our program here, what we have to do there? There at runtime we should not use what there Linux operating system. There we have to use what there the same Windows operating system we have to use what we have used for compilation. Other operating systems are not possible. In place of it, we have to use what there? The same Windows operating system. Now tell me, C and C++ programming languages are dependent on the operating system which you have used for compilation or not? Execution of the C and C++ programs are dependent on the operating system which you have used for compilation or not? Exactly. Because of this reason, here we can understand it that C and C++. Because of this reason, here we can understand that C and C++ are what their platform dependent programming languages. That C and C++ are like what their platform dependent programming languages. This is the respective diagram here what we prepared clearly. Sir, I'll forget my point or not? Okay. Right, sir. Now this is the total awareness here, but little bit description here I have to provide there. Here I need to provide some description. Same point here I have to provide in the text format here. Okay. So don't worry. Already almost 6:30. I have some other class there immediately. Then tomorrow I will continue the remaining part. Tomorrow just give rewind to me. I need to give some text information about this particular diagram. After that I need to go for what there. How Java is a platform independent programming language. Okay. Right, sir. Then today I want to stop it. Then tomorrow I will continue the content game. Right? Right, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll meet on tomorrow. Tomorrow, come here by shop at what time? 5:15. Max, I will start by 5:15 here, not at 5:30. At 5:15, I will start our content. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, guys, those who are attending in online, almost all demo class are completed here. So very soon the links are going to be changed. Please register immediately. Okay. Thank you.